A lot about the US's strengths in infrastructure, in chips, in foundational models. China with its own development of chips and own companies in the AI space as well. And the big question is, where does Europe stand in all of this? You look at the last generation of the internet, social media, search, all of that again was dominated by American tech companies as well. So what hope does Europe have in AI? This was the question I posed to Niklas Zennstrom, the founder of Atomico. They're one of the OG original VC firms.
Don't I know Niklas Zennstrom?
You do. The co-founder of Skype.
Yeah. I was having dinners with him in Davos 20 years ago.
And he's a big authority on European tech. He's one of the early
godfathers of European tech.
Absolutely, and one of the early investors. So I put the question to him, where does Europe stand when it comes to AI? Let's listen in.
If you think back when the mobile internet came, I remember there was people thought about, there was the internet, it was the mobile internet, it was a different thing. And it turned out that it was two companies that dominated the infrastructure, the operating systems. But the mobile internet gave opportunity for thousands and thousands of companies to flourish on that new platform. And that is what we're seeing with AI today. So kind of everything is AI to some extent.
So it's now looking at that application layer. Is there a chance, do you see, to build large businesses on the application layer of AI?
Yeah, I think there's two ways we look at it, think about it. One is when there's a thin layer on top of the LLM, it's always questionable what is the defensibility of that. But what's interesting, is when it comes into a vertical solution, into a vertical industry or specific area, say for example healthcare, where you cannot really rely on the general LLMs because there's too much hallucination. So there you actually want to train on specific healthcare data that you control. So, and those opportunities we think are very, very exciting. So Court is a good example in Copenhagen, and same thing with language, with translation.
There's been a conversation I felt that's been happening in European tech circles over the last year or so as the geopolitical environment has changed, and that is, how does Europe become slightly more self-sufficient? Now, if you think about the infrastructure layer, so much of that is built on American technology, right? The Amazons, Googles, Microsofts of the world, and now NVIDIA with the chips. Is there a world in which you see less reliance on American infrastructure and technology?
I think this year it's been a big wake-up call that we realize, understanding that we need to think about being be sovereign and self-reliant in terms of infrastructure. In the past, we always thought that whether it's an American company or European company providing the infrastructure didn't matter so much, but now it matters, and I think there's a big wake-up call and a call to action. I see both entrepreneurs are responding to this to think about what can they do to build more infrastructure type of companies, but also policymakers. I think it's an opportunity to up our game.
That was Niklas Zennstrom there, the co-founder of Skype and founder of Atomico. So there are two very interesting parts of this conversation, and there are increasing conversations happening in investor circles and European tech circles. One is the application layer. Many investors are seeing these foundational models as a new operating system of sorts, like an Android and an iOS, and they feel that a lot of the value may not come necessarily from the models, but what's built on top of them. So that's the first thing Niklas Zennstrom was saying about where Europe could be strong. The second part of the equation was something interesting, I think, that's been happening over the past year or so, certainly since President Donald Trump has taken office, is that European technology companies, investors, are now talking a bit more about trying to wean themselves off American infrastructure and technology. This is a conversation that's been happening in China for a very long time, but it's starting to happen here in Europe as well.